Hello fellow creature, welcome back to Rooftop Talks. Today I want to talk about the 5 stages of grief. The 5 stages of grief can be simplified down to denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. These are tethered to the human condition. And what does that mean? That means wherever humans go, these things can be found as well, because it's how people tick. It's a pattern that is replicated through human behavior, especially when it comes to things that are about change and coping with change. So they don't just occur in the mourning of a loved one, although that is the most common time when you see it very plainly, because that is difficult. It's difficult to cope with that kind of change for a human being. But it's about the mind. It's about the mind, it's about human behavior and how we cope. In this case, I'm going to apply that to the case of animal abuse. Animal abusers who are faced with the reality that their behavior towards animals is a problem for the animals and should stop. They should stop treating the animals like this. They should stop exploiting animals. What we do as vegans is whenever we get a spare moment to talk with a member of the public that is involved in this ongoing atrocity, in the animal holocaust, is we try to explain this to them. We try many methods. We try the soft approach, we try hard approaches, we try all kinds of different approaches. And really the response is usually the same, although the soft approach seems to work a little bit better most of the time. But in any case, what we see is, because this is a change in behavior that we're proposing, and it's a change in the way we think, it's a paradigm shift, we see people move through the 5 stages of grief. So let's start off with denial. The first stage of grief is denial. So who's heard this before? Those slaughterhouse videos are probably from China. That doesn't happen to my food. Vegans are lying or distorting things to suit their agenda. Have you ever heard that? What about, if everyone's doing it, then it must be right. It must be fine because everyone's doing it. What about, don't show me that. I don't want to see that. It's not happening. It doesn't happen the way you say. They're happy animals. They're not being exploited. That's the denial stage that we're seeing. The first stage is denial, just denying that the reality of what happens to animals is in fact a reality. And then we move on. Let's progress to anger, the next stage of grief. So anger, this is personified as lashing out. So have you ever heard, I hate those preachy vegans, always trying to force their lifestyle down other people's throats. Why don't they leave me alone and stop judging me? You're judging. You see, it's accusative. You're judging me. Who do they think they are with their holier-than-thou attitudes on their high horses, right? When a proposal is made for a better way of life, for a more consistent way of living in line with your values, this is the anger stage of that 5 stages of grief. The anger, it's accusing, it's lashing out. It's often focused on the behavior of vegans instead of the content of the message of what vegans are actually saying. They might be like, well, yeah, whatever about their point, but they shouldn't be behaving like that. They shouldn't be being mean to me. They shouldn't be so rude, right? Focused on the vegans, and it's anger. Have you ever heard this one? They're traumatizing the youth with this slaughterhouse footage. It's child abuse because they're traumatizing young minds with this slaughterhouse footage. Yeah, it's the vegan journalists who report this abuse that are the real abusers. That's what you might hear in this anger stage of grief. Okay, so we've gone denial, anger. The next one is bargaining. So this is what bargaining can sound like. You should ask people to reduce instead of quitting completely. Reduce your animal abuse. Don't quit abusing animals, just reduce it. Asking people to stop is too much of an ask. It's too big of an ask. Animal welfare is the way to go. Make their imprisonment comfortable. Give them softer, bigger cages. Make their deaths a little bit quicker. The deaths that we're causing, make them quicker, make them less painful, less scary, but still kill them. Still abuse them, just not quite as badly. That's bargaining. You're trying to negotiate so that you can still have your little treats, so you can still have your bacon sandwich at the end of the day, so you can still have your omelette, the flesh and fluids of animals. You're trying to negotiate wrongdoing. The next step is depression. This is there on the 5 stages of grief that non-vegans go through on their way towards reaching a vegan conclusion. Depression, this is what it can sound like. It's a cruel world. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Morality doesn't exist. Any attempt at moral behavior is all for nothing. It's futile. I have a nihilistic worldview now. I've resorted to nihilism to cope with what I'm doing. Might equals right. This is the way it has to be. Nature is cruel and we can't escape being cruel to others. We are animals. We are just as barbaric as the animals, and we cannot hope to be any better than our origins, the origins of our species. I'm a selfish being, and you know what else? So is everyone. This is the depression stage. This is changing your entire worldview and belief system to support the depravity, to support the hypocrisy, to support the wrongdoing. We can't escape being cruel to others. There's no point to fight it. Don't fight it. So at this stage, instead of fighting evil, they choose to kind of wear it as a protective cloak. They wear the evil on themselves. It looks like acceptance, but it isn't quite acceptance. Acceptance is the last stage of grief, okay? Acceptance might sound like this from a non-vegan. I'll admit it. The situation is really bad. We're doing a really bad thing. We can do better than this. It's not just that vegans come across as better, it's this particular aspect of our lives. Vegans are doing a better thing. Vegans are living in line with their values better. Ouch. This is acceptance starting to sink in, but we're still in the stages of grief. And here's the last part of acceptance. It's not that hard to be a vegan. When someone is at this stage of grief, they're getting really close, but they're not vegan yet. So those are the 5 stages of grief that a non-vegan will go through before reaching veganism. And then finally, after all of that, this kind of ego death that we see, this wrestling with reality, this fighting the denial, then finally, a non-vegan can pick themselves up off the floor and go vegan. Coming back to a sense of self-worth, to your self-esteem, starting to feel good about yourself again. This is what happens on the other side of grief. I'm a good person caught up in a societal problem, in a behavioral inertia that it was socially reinforced from when I was a child. And I'm coming to realize that now as I'm stepping into who I really am and who I want to be. As I'm in the progress of becoming who I want to be, I found veganism, and that was far more reflective of my true nature. My nature as a caring, compassionate person who values all lives, not just the lives of the in-group, but all lives, without prejudice, without discrimination. I see these beings for who they are. I see them and I value them. And that's who I am. I'm a being who values other beings. I can change today to match my behaviors with my beliefs and to step into who I truly am. No more excuses. No more adopting of this fatalism, these appeals to futility. No more of that. Emotivism, any of these kind of beliefs that let me off the hook for my bad behavior. These things I don't truly believe in, that I don't apply consistently just to escape my responsibilities as a powerful moral agent. I'm done with doing wrong by the animals. Other people might, and that is a problem for them, but for me, I will have no more part in it. I am done with abusing animals because that's not who I want to be. It's not what I want to do to the animals. The animals deserve better from me. I will play no further part in this atrocity. And it is an atrocity, and I see that now, I recognize that now. This is picking yourself up off the floor, taking back control, taking back self-esteem for yourself. When it comes down to it, I am a good, compassionate, well-meaning person with good intentions, and becoming a vegan is one more step to live in line with who I want to be, that society has tricked me into disgracing, into forfeiting for the longest time. I am capable of becoming better. I am capable of updating my habits and my activities in this world to better reflect my core values and principles. And I will not break them for frivolous pleasure or convenience or habit that is not strong enough to break my resolve in this way, because I recognize my own strength. This is what lies on the other side of the 5 stages of grief. If you're not there yet, I look forward to welcoming you to the other side of grief and guilt and denial that non-vegans face. Come on over. It's so much better on this side. You can feel good about yourself again when you come over here, and you'll deserve it, but only when your actions reflect your values. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
I release you from the spell. You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey. I will draw you, Saruman, as poison is drawn from a wound. Wait. If I go, Theoden dies. You did not kill me. You will not kill him. Rohan is mine.